We've spent decades imagining alien invasions, great ships crossing the stars to strip our planet bare, or enslave humanity. It's a classic sci-fi fantasy, built on one very human assumption, that Earth is a prize worth taking, but what if we've got it all wrong? In this video we'll explore 3 mind-blowing reasons why aliens wouldn't invade Earth. Not because they're merciful, and not because we're too weak to bother with, but because whether it's resources, risk, or something far worse, invading Earth might be the last thing any civilization would ever dare to do. Number 1. Earth's resources are laughably insignificant. Throughout decades of science fiction, one idea has remained almost sacred, that one day the skies will darken and alien ships will descend upon Earth, ready to strip our planet bare. They'll come for our water, our gold, our oil, or perhaps even us. Movies and novels have hammered this idea into our collective imagination. From the Martian war machines of War of the Worlds, to the city-destroying behemoths of Independence Day. It's an image that taps into something primal, the fear that we are nothing more than resources waiting to be harvested by something bigger, stronger, and utterly indifferent. But there's a problem with this fantasy, a problem no one ever seems to ask in those stories. What if we got it completely backwards? What if in the grand scheme of the universe, Earth isn't a prize at all? What if despite all our imagination, we have nothing worth taking? Now let's begin with something simple: water. To us it's essential, the foundation of life. Entire wars have been fought over access to it. But in the universe, water is everywhere. It's one of the most common substances in space, scattered across comets, drifting in the tails of icy asteroids, and locked beneath the surfaces of distant moons like Europa and Enceladus. Some of these moons contain more water than every ocean on Earth combined, hidden beneath layers of ice, untouched and easily accessible to an advanced species. And minerals, metals, those too are abundant beyond measure. Asteroids and planetoids drift in countless numbers through every star system, many containing vast quantities of iron, nickel, platinum, and other rare metals. Mining them would be simpler, safer, and infinitely more efficient than launching an invasion on a planet with a strong gravity well and a population of armed and unpredictable inhabitants. Even hydrocarbons like oil or methane are scattered across the universe. Titan, one of Saturn's moons, has entire lakes of liquid methane and ethane, forming a toxic mirror of our own ecosystems. And these aren't even the most tempting options. Entire asteroid belts float through the void, free of atmosphere and ready for exploitation. Gas giants offer unimaginably vast stores of hydrogen, helium, and other useful gases. Rogue planets drift between stars, rich in exotic resources, and utterly unprotected. Everything we fight over, everything we mine, everything we build our fragile economies around, it's all common elsewhere. We only think of it as rare because we are trapped within the tiny perspective of this one blue dot. Now let's move on to something most people don't realise: the sheer energy it would take for aliens to even reach us. Interstellar travel isn't like hopping in a car and driving across a continent. It's not even like sending a probe to another planet. We're talking about moving colossal amounts of mass across light years of space, a task that demands mind-shattering amounts of energy. Any civilization capable of such feats would already be operating on energy scales we can barely comprehend. Dyson spheres, stellar engines, technologies that harvest and manipulate the energy of entire stars. They wouldn't be burning chemical fuel or scooping up rocks like we do. They'd be manipulating fusion reactions, warping space-time, or drawing power from black holes themselves. To them, invading a tiny rocky planet like Earth for resources would be absurd. It would be like burning 1 million gallons of fuel just to collect a single drop of oil. Why would they waste that kind of power on a planet that offers nothing they can't already access elsewhere, faster, easier, and with no resistance? In their eyes, it wouldn't just be inefficient, it would be pointless. Earth isn't a peaceful, docile world waiting to be plundered either. It's a planet bristling with nuclear weapons, chemical and biological agents, and unpredictable governments who'd rather destroy everything than surrender. We are creatures who have built weapons capable of wiping ourselves out, and we've come terrifyingly close to doing it more than once. Invading Earth wouldn't just mean dealing with primitive technology, it would mean entering a volatile, unstable environment, where every action risks triggering catastrophic retaliation. Why would an advanced species risk the chaos of an invasion, knowing we're the kind of species that might launch every missile we have out of sheer spite, especially when the rewards our planet offers are so underwhelming? Now let's shift our entire perspective. All throughout this discussion we've assumed that alien civilizations would even want the kinds of resources we obsess over. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if their concept of precious resources is utterly alien to us? What if their technologies run on principles we haven't even discovered yet, materials we don't know exist, forces we can't detect, and dimensions we can't perceive? Our metals, fuels and minerals could be meaningless to them. Our prized resources might be the equivalent of shiny rocks to a caveman. It's entirely possible that we're fixated on things that hold no value in their eyes, not even enough to warrant curiosity, let alone war. In that view, we wouldn't be seen as a target or a rival, we'd be nothing more than background noise. When you strip away all the science fiction fantasies, all the human-centered assumptions, and all the inflated ideas of our own importance, you're left with a much colder reality. Earth isn't special, Earth isn't valuable, and to the wider universe, we may not even be visible. We imagine ourselves as a tempting target, but to them we're nothing but a fading echo in a corner of the cosmos. Invading Earth for resources would be like sending a battleship to mug a lemonade stand. Why risk war for scraps when the universe itself is a banquet, and in the grand indifferent silence of space, we're just another dusty pebble, drifting in a cosmic beach? Number 2. Humans are too dangerous and unpredictable. There's a common assumption in alien invasion theories that we're simply too primitive to pose a threat. To many, humanity seems fragile, small, incapable of challenging a species capable of interstellar travel. But there's more to danger than technology. True danger isn't always about the biggest weapon or the most advanced machine. Sometimes danger comes from unpredictability, from the species that refuses to play by the rules, from those willing to destroy everything, including themselves, just to spite their enemy. And when you look at us through that lens, humanity becomes one of the most dangerous species in the known universe. Because while we may not have faster than light ships or cosmic weapons, we have something far more terrifying. We're unpredictable, we're irrational, and we're willing to burn everything down if it means dragging our enemies with us. To truly understand why humans are so dangerous, you only have to look at our history. Our story isn't one of peaceful progress. It's a long, unbroken chain of wars, bloodshed and destruction. From tribal conflicts to global wars, we have consistently fought each other over land, resources, power, and even abstract ideas like ideology and religion. We've committed acts of brutality that defy logic, methods of cruelty refined over centuries. But it doesn't stop there. We don't just fight enemies, we fight ourselves. We build weapons of mass destruction not merely for defense, but to dominate, obliterate, and ensure mutual destruction. We created nuclear weapons fully aware that their use could wipe out all life on Earth, and yet we still stockpile them. We've stared into the abyss of extinction before, and we didn't flinch. Any species watching us from afar wouldn't see a rational, peaceful civilization. They'd see a species that willingly dances on the edge of its own destruction. One of humanity's most dangerous traits isn't just our capacity for violence, it's how we fight. We don't rely solely on brute strength or superior numbers. We specialize in asymmetric warfare, using unpredictable, unconventional tactics designed to exploit weaknesses in stronger opponents. Throughout history, we've turned wars into battles of attrition and psychological torment. We've sabotaged, ambushed, and lured enemies into situations where no victory is possible for either side. We embrace scorched earth policies, burning our own cities, poisoning our own land, destroying everything we can just to deny it to our enemies, and we've institutionalized the concept of mutually assured destruction, building entire military doctrines around the promise that if we're attacked, we'll annihilate ourselves and everyone else with us. That isn't just dangerous, it's terrifying. Because we don't always fight to survive. Sometimes we fight for vengeance, for pride. We're the kind of species that, when backed into a corner, doesn't surrender. We drag everything down with us. It's easy to assume that every civilization would think and act like we do, but that's a very human mistake. Advanced species, especially those capable of crossing the stars, may think in ways we can't fully comprehend. If they've survived long enough to master interstellar travel, they likely value stability above all else, patience, caution, and long-term planning. They may see reckless, impulsive behavior as primitive, or even suicidal, and in that light, we wouldn't look like potential allies, or even rivals. We'd look like something far worse. An unpredictable, violent species that acts on emotion, lashes out without warning, and risks everything in a single act of vengeance. To them, we'd be like watching a wild, cornered animal, terrifying not because of its strength, but because of its complete unpredictability. The kind of species that might destroy itself and everyone around it, just to make a point. Even if an alien civilization had the overwhelming power to crush us in an instant, the risk wouldn't be zero, because humans don't go down quietly. If we faced annihilation, we simply wouldn't accept defeat. We'd lash out in every direction with whatever we had left. We possess nuclear weapons capable of devastating the entire planet. We've engineered biological weapons that could cause uncontrollable global pandemics. We've polluted and destabilized our own environment to the brink of collapse, often without even trying. And if we ever faced an existential threat, we would likely unleash all of it, not to win, but out of rage, out of desperation, out of spite. No advanced species, no matter how powerful, would want to deal with a species that behaves like that. A species that would burn everything to the ground rather than surrender. Throughout our history, we've feared predators, creatures stronger, faster, and more brutal than us. But the most terrifying creatures aren't the strongest ones. They're the ones that will attack even if it means dying. To an alien civilization observing us from afar, we wouldn't appear as prey or rivals. We'd look like a species wired for destruction, something too unpredictable to engage with, too reckless to risk. Engaging with humanity wouldn't be like fighting a worthy opponent. It would be like walking into a room filled with explosives, each wired to go off at the slightest touch. Explosives that want to be set off, just to see what happens. In that light, we wouldn't be seen as a threat because of our strength, but because of our mindset. A mindset that says, if we're going down, we're taking everything with us. And that makes us far more terrifying than any weapon ever could. Because sometimes it isn't the strongest creature that commands fear, it's the one that's already accepted its own death. Number 3. They risk being seen by bigger predators. There's a possibility so unsettling that most people refuse to even consider it. That the universe isn't just empty, it's dangerous. Not dangerous in the way we often imagine, filled with conquering empires or fleets of hostile invaders, but dangerous because it's hunted. In this view, civilizations advanced enough to master interstellar travel wouldn't likely be driven by conquest or expansion, They wouldn't be bold explorers proudly announcing their presence to the cosmos. They would be survivors. Species that have endured long enough to reach the stars would almost certainly have learned one brutal lesson. Silence isn't just wise, it's essential. Because somewhere out there, something worse could be watching. Something old, something patient, something predatory. To these cautious civilizations, Earth wouldn't be seen as a target. It would be seen as a liability. A loud, reckless species shouting into the dark, drawing attention not to itself, but to anyone foolish enough to get too close. Some civilizations may know through ancient warnings, lost histories, or direct encounters that there are forces in the universe far beyond mere predators. Entities so vast, so incomprehensibly powerful, they don't simply hunt, they enforce. These aren't random destroyers acting out of hunger or malice. They are the cosmic enforcers, beings that impose order across the stars, eliminating any civilization that grows too bold, too aggressive, or too disruptive. In this view, the universe operates under hidden laws, ancient rules that every advanced civilization eventually learns to obey. Never expand too quickly, never dominate too aggressively, and never draw too much attention. Those who break these rules don't face rivals or wars, they face erasure. Some civilizations may even carry the scars of these encounters. Stories passed down through millennia of entire empires wiped clean from existence for their arrogance. Ruins on distant worlds might not be the remnants of war or natural disasters, but monuments to those who dared to challenge the ancient order and failed. Invading Earth wouldn't just risk local conflict or resource loss, it would risk violating those same cosmic laws. Starting a war, no matter how one-sided, could trigger a response from these enforcers, not because of the act itself, but because of what it represents: expansion, aggression, disruption. And when the enforcers arrive, there are no negotiations, no warnings, no second chances. For advanced civilizations, the question isn't whether they can conquer Earth, it's whether doing so is worth risking everything. And the answer is always the same: no civilization survives the wrath of the apex predators. The reason why no one dares to invade Earth isn't about our resources, it isn't even about our weapons, it's about what might happen after the invasion. From an outside perspective, humanity isn't just a violent, unpredictable species, we're a contagion, a volatile force of chaos, reckless, aggressive, emotionally driven, and willing to drag everything down in flames if we're pushed. Invading us wouldn't simply mean conquering a planet, it would mean releasing that chaos onto the wider galaxy. Our wars, our ideologies, our capacity for destruction. These things don't stay contained, they spread. Civilizations that interfere with us could find themselves caught in the crossfire of something far bigger than they anticipated. Because human conflict doesn't end neatly, it festers, it escalates. And if that chaos were unleashed beyond our world, it could trigger a chain reaction, spreading violence, instability, and destruction across multiple systems. That wouldn't just be inconvenient, it would be catastrophic. All that noise, all that turmoil would echo outward, generating enough disruption to draw the attention of those same apex predators we discussed. Invading Earth wouldn't just mean dealing with humans. It could ignite the galaxy like a beacon, announcing to every hidden terror that something has gone horribly wrong in this region of space. In that light, advanced civilizations wouldn't avoid us out of mercy. They'd avoid us out of sheer cold caution, not because they fear us, but because they fear what happens if they let us out of the cage. When you strip away all the science fiction fantasies, all the dreams of alien invasions and cosmic wars, what you're left with is something far colder and far more terrifying. The silence of the universe isn't comforting, it's a warning. a sign that every civilization, no matter how powerful, eventually learns the same brutal lesson. It's not about what you can conquer, it's about what hears you when you try. All these theories, the fear of detection, ancient apex predators, the risk of igniting chaos, point to one chilling conclusion. We aren't being ignored because we're significant. We're being ignored because it's too dangerous. The universe may already know about us. They may have been watching us all along, keeping their distance not out of mercy or indifference, but out of a profound caution. Because the ultimate terror isn't that aliens might come to invade us. It's the possibility that we've already been marked, already under observation, by things so far beyond our comprehension we wouldn't even recognize them watching. And in the deepest forests of the cosmos, even the predators hide. So hopefully we can all sleep a little easier knowing there won't be giant spaceships descending on Earth for conquest or domination anytime soon. Maybe first contact, if it ever happens, will be peaceful. Or maybe there won't be any contact at all. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Until next time, keep looking up and never stop questioning. This is the Omega Signal, signing off.